Good morning, Internet, and I do hope this all finds you well. Your health as always. So this is going to be an interesting one. First question, can I play the guitar before lunchtime? Well, I can probably do a reasonable enough impression. Okay, so on to our first lick then. We're dealing with Stevie Ray Vaughan once again this month. And what can I say, he's one of my favourite ever guitar players. And we're looking at some of the tracks from Couldn't Stand the Weather on this one. So this album kicks off with, of course, Scuttle Buttin', which you can't say with my accent and sound right, so I'm not even going to try. So I'm going to show you the opening lick with this. Okay, so this is following a 12-bar blues pattern in E, and we're basing it around the E7 sharp 9, A7 and B7 sharp 9 chords, and you can see there I've got an open E7 bass voicing with the addition of the D and G notes on the 3rd fret, B and high E strings. A7, basic bog standard chord, B7 sharp 9, that's your Hendrix voicing. But you didn't come here for the chords, did you? No, you came here for the widdly stuff. So here we go then. Now this is all through open E blues, and I'm going to start off on the 2nd fret G, and then open B, open E, open B, and I did say, didn't I, that I wasn't going to try and belabor fingering. I'm not going to explain each note because I've tabbed it out for you. The link will be in the description below. So I'm just going to go really slowly and pick this out for you. And you'll notice when you hear the song through that final root note changes as the chord progression changes. So it's an open E under the E7 sharp 9, it's an A under the A7, and it's a B under the B7 sharp 9. And this lick famously did even scare Kirk Hammett of Metallica. There is a reason for this as well. Open string playing can be deceptively difficult. Open string blindness is very much a thing with guitar players. And the reason's fairly simple. When you're picking fretted notes, this hand does something, this hand does something. When you're picking open strings, this hand does something, this hand does nothing. Now in the blog post I talk about micro movements with the left hand. I'm going to go really slowly because that's not a natural thing for me. And I don't know if you could see there, but what I was doing to try and demonstrate this micro movement idea was a sort of a false fretting motion with the 3rd finger to go for where a note might be in that pentatonic fingering. And doing that is a good way round if you're not used to playing a lot of open string stuff. There are lots of ways of articulating this riff as well as what's tabbed out. Quite often Stevie would replace the bend with a slide, so you get something like a... Or sometimes the slide will be replaced with the bend. Or in that case a pretty bend. And it's also, of course, some people will prefer to play this hybrid picked. And it does, you know, it really does lend itself to that. And a lot of players, for example, Freddie King would often use a fret hand, pick hand finger to fret the high E string. To pick the high E string, in fact. This is what happens when I do videos in the morning before lunch. Moving on from that one then. So there we are, slow. Now moving on to the next one. This is taken from the title track, and this isn't really a lick as such, this is the riff. Now Stevie would vary this, he died 30 years ago. Stevie would vary this quite a lot, certainly playing live, but it's all based around a basic core riff with some variations on the response. The original is obviously down tuned to semitone. I'm in standard tuning because I'm a heretic. And let me just play you through this before we go any further. And all based around D minor pentatonic. second and third bars are generally where he would vary things. Now, what you'll notice is you want to be strumming those first few single notes, even though you're only hitting the note fretted on the high E string. You need those mutes in there to make it sound full. And you'll notice a few very subtle kind of ghost mutes, too subtle really to be worth trying to tab out, because these are things that are incidental to the riff. Don't be concentrating on the mutes at the expense of getting the notes in the right place. And you'll notice as well, there's some ghost movements with the pick. This is basically the pick version of what we were just talking about with scuttlebutton, where you're doing micro movements to keep the hand moving. Because you don't want to be consciously counting things. I wasn't. You can bet your life Stevie Ray wasn't. All about feel, and feel comes from constant motion. You do want to be keeping your foot tapping, you want to be keeping your hand movement in constant 16ths and relying on fret hand muting as much as possible. Now, how you do your fret hand muting, I'm afraid, is going to be largely up to you. When I'm playing the Strat, my thumb is coming heavily over the top here. However, I'm playing a Les Paul, as I will be in the next video, stay tuned. I tend to find my thumb comes back a little further, so I'm more reliant on these fret hand fingers to do the work for me. You do you, I'm afraid. I don't have a one-size-fits-all answer, and if anybody else does, I should be interested in hearing it. So crucial things to look out for: you got your single notes on the E string with the additional mutes from the B, then you've got your double stop bend, and you got your hammer on from minor to major third. So kind of Nile Rodgers meets Chuck Berry. And then we've got a little double stop pattern here before going into a single note figure based on D minor pentatonic. And it's worth noting that regardless of variation, every time he plays this, Stevie always hangs on that C note, just bent ever so slightly, C up into kind of halfway to C sharp. Now, theoretically, that shouldn't work because you're bending a flat 7 into a major 7. But it does. And it becomes very much a signature of that. And then, having had our minor to major hammer on again, back to the root note, we've got a couple of little double stop things basically to fill in the space. Moving on then, we're going to take a look at a lick from Things I Used to Do, which is a cover of 12 bar blues in G, and this is a lick taken from the turnaround. So obviously you're in G, your turnaround chords, your 5, 4, 1, 5, D7, C7, G7. And what this is doing is taking advantage of the D7 chord where the A note is your 5th. So we're looking at G minor pentatonic, and we're adding in the A note here, excuse me, which is the 5th of the D chord, the 5 chord that's brought in the turnaround. So here's the lick itself. And you can hear as well that it can end on the D note. So that really gives that really accentuates the 5 chord. And here we're going to do hammers on to the 3rd to 5th fret, so getting the A note in there. And we've got a lovely greasy little kind of pull-off slide combination. A flat to G, and then back around. And if you're familiar with the 3 magic notes, which of course if you're one of my students you will be, you'll recognise how that is drawn from it. So slowly. A little bit quicker. concept that you can regularly inject into your own blues playing, bringing in that is the second of the scale that acts as the fifth over the 5 chords. So it's a very useful note to bring in your regular blues playing. Apologies for sounding a little bit snotty. It's the season of coughs and colds. And we come on to the last one. Excuse me. And this is taken from the 9-minute blues epic that is Tin Pan Alley, the roughest place I've ever been. And this is all based around kind of second position, C minor pentatonic and C blues. But Stevie also brings in this note here, the A note on the 10th fret of the B string. Now what's interesting about this shape is you've got a diminished 7 arpeggio in there. A, C, E flat, G flat, all notes a minor third apart. We could view that as A diminished 7, or C diminished 7, or E flat diminished 7, or even G flat diminished 7. The fact that you've got parallel minor thirds making this chord up makes it extraordinarily usable like this. And if you've been following this blog, in which case thank you both of you, you'll recognise when the last time we looked at this was back in February and John Petrucci. So there you go. Everybody really is dealing with the same 12 notes. Anyway, here is the lick played a little bit quickly. With a mistake. Yeah, just to see if you were paying attention. So here we are coming in on that A note. And take note of the vibrato that Stevie puts on that C note there. And that last A note in the first bar, very much, you think of it as a full stop or a comma. Now this is a very characteristic Stevie Ray position shift. So most of us will tend to do our position shifts on the G. He does his on the B. And then we've got a little dive into the flat 5 there. And then we've got this rather lovely double stop, I think most likely piano inspired. And there, so I've got the root note there, which I'm going to pick 8th fret on the high E string. I'm going to pick that with the 3rd finger. And then slide from the G flat, the flat 5, into the G on the G string before coming back to the 10th fret, to the F, E flat on the 8th fret, and then down to the root note on the 10th fret, D. Play a little bit more quickly. And it's worth noting as well, his use of dynamics on that track is absolutely glorious. In terms of tone, you want clean kind of Fender sound. I've got a neck pickup, although neck and middle will work equally well. And you can see that it's really the use of that flat 5 that really sets it off. And he makes a lot of use of that, even though it's a very strong, it's a minor key blues, so you wouldn't tend to want to veer too much outside the minor pentatonic framework. He does really work that flat 5. So there you go. I hope that's proven useful. Please do like, share and subscribe with the Holy Trinity of YouTube. We are gradually working our way towards the magic 100 subscribers, at which point I will get to give the channel a name. So do keep on with us, do keep watching, and slash next time, and I'll wish you a very happy Christmas and New Year, and I'm going to go and blow my nose. See you next time. All the best.